Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be talking about how to continue to create some more delightful little animations. Now, what you see here is kind of like a little bit of a checklist design. I'm actually going to scale this up a bit more, just because it is a bit small if we take a look at our last design. So let's bring that up a bit. So it's a bit small. We can kind of come here and scale this up. Boop, boop. Okay, so we have 12. We can make it 18. It doesn't matter. 24. Let's make it even larger. 36. I think 24 is going to work. Let's place that right there. We have our dash. So we're going to work on designing this little design here for a checklist. So we can set it to maybe 3 pixels. If we hold these two together, we'll just put that to 100% so we don't mess with that. Okay, let's make sure this is centered. Great. Let's make sure this is centered. Great. So originally this is kind of what I had started designing, but we're going to do this together, so it doesn't matter. Now, what I had originally was this kind of nice little checklist design. And what I want to happen, there's a couple different states here. I would say there's 3. Or actually 2 main states, one being when the apples or your checklist item has not been clicked, and then when it has been clicked, it goes to this active state. In between, we have these kind of like confetti pops that I want to do as well. So it's like this turns into a check mark, or this kind of moves across to like cross out the apples. So we have a bit of transformation happening here, which is really cool. We have a lot of delight. And generally, when I think of transformation in interactions like this, I'm thinking of something that's very delightful. When I see like a check mark turn into a dash, or when I see like a button have a multi-purpose, which you'll see soon again. But this is going to be something that we're going to focus on, especially with this design. So let's get through some of this first, and then we'll jump right in to the other designs and how to prototype it. So I'm actually just going to pull directly from here. So I just pressed I to bring up my color picker tool, and I'll just pick anything I want. And then I have my check here. This is going to be right there. Actually, let's keep it there for now. So my check is going to be here. Perfect. This is going to be right there. Let's make sure that is perfectly centered. So that's going to be like that. And we'll press I again to grab the same color. So it's kind of like it's swiped out. I'm going to once again just make sure that everything is perfectly centered. So this is Y75. So I have to make sure this one is Y75. Because what's going to happen here is this is going to swipe all the way to here. So if we actually take a look at this prototype, so on click, I'm going to navigate to that. I'm going to smart animate it. So we can just take a look at what that's going to look like. Let's press play. So that was our first flow. This is our second one. So that was pretty cool. But also very boring. Now, I'm actually going to make this a little bit larger. Let's go for 48 pixels. Let's go for 48 pixels. Let's actually just move this out of the way for now. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. Perfect. I think 5 pixels is going to be good enough for the height. And that's going to kind of be where it's going to lay. Now we can actually duplicate it. Let's take a look quickly to see. Okay, that's perfect. I want it to be large enough so that everyone can see it much more easily. So we're just going to duplicate this and we can do that. We're going to just make sure that it is a nice height and a nice length. So if I hold Option and I stretch from both sides, it's just going to stretch automatically for us. We just want to make sure that these are aligned properly. So now it's 84. So let's move that. This one is going to be 84 as well. Perfect. We'll just center that in the middle. We do need our check mark. So that's going to go right here. And here we can make that larger. Perfect. This is going to be 116. So we're going to make sure that's 116. And like I said, you want to make sure everything is in its place, because when we do this, if things are even a little bit off, you are going to notice. So let's do that again. Let's move this out a bit. Okay, I'm going to actually move this out a bit like that. And then I'm going to make sure that these are both selected and press I. And now we have the first part done for our design. Okay, so we can delete this. We can even delete this. And now the next part is to kind of add this confetti that I have here. And I've seemed to have spelled confetti wrong. So we can just rename that. And what I did was I selected all the confettis and I pressed Command or Control R at the same time, and it will bring up the ability to rename all layers at the same time. So I'm going to press confetti. And if you wanted, you can even number them by clicking this and it'll add the number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So you don't need to do that, but you can if you'd like. So I'm going to duplicate that and I'm going to bring that over here. And there we go. So that's kind of going to be the next step. Perfect. So in the next video, I'm really going to get into how we start linking these all together and creating those different screens. This one, we can just kind of remove them for now. But this is generally what's supposed to happen. Oops, let me actually swap these. So it's supposed to click, boom, pop the confetti, confetti disappears, and then we have the check mark. And that's essentially the design that we're going to stick with for this checklist delightful micro interaction.